Hurry brings worry, and haste is waste. So let me ask you a big question. What's on your mind?
Mindset Monday. Your week begins now.
What have you been worrying about in the last week, staying up late at night? And what's got you confused, perplexed? What has you angry? What has you sad? There's going to be something on your mind, and it causes you to worry. Now, there's 5 hurry triggers. And there's 5 triggers that cause people to get into a panic and they start making inaccurate decisions. They start making decisions too quickly without thinking through them. And then a lot of times there's a painful consequence to that decision. So there's 5 triggers. Hopefully you got a pen and you're ready to go. So the first trigger is a lack of confidence. You don't have enough confidence in the decision that you need to make, so you try and hurry through it and just make the fastest decision or the easiest decision or the decision that's in front of you, and you don't really have the confidence to search out any options. The second one is lack of focus. So in this situation, you're blinded by all the bright, shiny objects. You have too many options on the table. You're having trouble prioritizing what's in front of you so that you can pick the single best option for you. The third one is impatience. A lot of times we get impatient and we want things to happen now. We snap our fingers and say, it's got to happen. I got to get that done. Why do you have to get that done so quickly? Why do you have to arrive at a certain particular point on your journey so quickly? The next one is fear. Fear stops a lot of people from making decisions. And so what actually happens is you fear not making the decision. Or it's the new age fear of missing out syndrome, where if I don't make that decision because everybody else is doing that, so I got to do it. Or everybody else is driving a particular type of car, so I have to drive that type of car. Or everyone else is wearing a certain type of suit at the office, so I better go and get that designer suit. No, it doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to fear those things. You don't have to fear missing out. You need to actually be centered and make good decisions that are good for you. And the fifth one is discouragement. Sometimes we get discouraged and we're just basically down and out and feel like, man, there's no hope for me. I just don't feel like I can make another decision. I might as well just go and do this one thing, or, well, everybody else is doing it and I just feel like a loser in the group or whatever. Sometimes that discouragement really sets in on us. And in that motion, we make a poor decision. And it can be, we're just really discouraged about life and we emotionally eat. And next thing you know, a couple months of that and you're saying, wow, I gotta have to buy some new pants because the old pants don't fit anymore or something like that. Or, people get into spending decisions and they start, making poor spending choices that don't meet their budget or their preferences. So yeah, discouragement's a heavy, heavy one that weighs on us a lot of times. Now, there's 5 ways that you can get out from underneath these triggers. And the 5 ways go like this. First question that I'm going to ask you. What are you worrying about? So it's important to just write it down on a sheet of paper. Put it in front of you. A lot of times, the worry and the hurry that's triggered by that comes from not clearly seeing the problem. So a lot of times just a clean sheet of paper in front of you and you write out the problem. I have to make this decision by. Somebody needs my input by. I need this to happen by. I'm scared that if I don't make this decision, something else will happen. And just put it on a clean sheet of paper in front of you. And then underneath that, you ask, and you can do this in a mind map format, or you can just pencil this out. The next thing is, why is this decision important for you to make in such a rush? Why is this decision important for you to make in such a rush? And so you start asking that question and say, okay, well, why is this important for me? Why do I have to make this decision? Now, it could be it's really important that you make the decision, but then it becomes a timing mechanism. So, or it becomes a person mechanism. So the next question is, who is pushing you to make this decision? Who is forcing you to decide? Who is creating the hurry? Who is telling you, come on, you got to join the group. Come on, you have to make that decision by a certain day. Who's pushing you for this? Oftentimes there's somebody or a group of people, or maybe even it's just society, or you read it in the newspaper, or you read it online, and the proverbial everybody is doing it, and they're all out there doing it, so you should too. Well, not necessarily. So who is pushing you to make this decision? And now we go into the timeline sequencing. When do you have to decide on this? And that's important to write that date on that same sheet of paper. When do you have to make a decision on this? Maybe you don't have to decide for 3 months. Well, there's no sense hurrying into a decision this week when you have 3 months. Maybe there's no timeline. Maybe it's just you being excited because the latest whatever, iPhone, iPad, whatever has come out, or the latest Android thing has come out, or computer, or the new car, or the new dress, or whatever. And you just feel compelled like you got to hurry in and make a purchase decision on this when you might not have enough information. So, who is pushing you to make this decision? Why is the decision important to you? When do you have to decide on this? And next is, how often have you made a great decision in a panic? Go back through all your time on this earth and ask yourself, how often have you made a great decision in a rush? Probably never. I know for me, it's very seldom. So, how can you take time away from this panic or this hurry or this worry to make a more focused decision? And so sometimes this just means being able to write this on the sheet of paper, physically put the sheet of paper to the side of your desk or in a file folder and say, I'm going to give it a week. I'm going to give it 2 weeks. I'm going to give it a month. So how can you take some time away from that, distance yourself between you and the decision that's making you worry? And then the next one is, where can you get support to help you make a better decision? Because there are people out there that have walked a similar path as you have. They've made the same decision, and they actually have information and feedback that they can give you. I spend a lot of times when I'm making purchase decisions spending time on review sites. And if I'm buying something in the technology arena, I have 5 particular review sites that I know, for me, those reviewers have matched up really closely to my preferences and desires. And so I'll go there and I'll check it out. And just that one act, sure, it might cost me a little bit of time, but in many cases, that time has actually saved me hundreds and thousands of dollars. It's saved me from making a poor purchase decision. And it's also actually, a lot of times, alerted me to other options that I did not know were available. And so a lot of times in buying a digital camera or something like that, somebody says, well, the Canon XYZ model is the best model, and you look and it's $1,500. However, I go and I do some review research and somebody says, actually, the Panasonic has better features and it's $500 less. So that's great. So where can you get support to make this decision? Now, it could be that you need support in the form of a review website. You might need to talk to a colleague, a friend, a neighbor. You might need to seek out some professional support if it's a deeper topic, and you might want some counseling or some therapy or some coaching that can help you work through the issues. Those are all wise things that you can do. Now, the biggest problem in our world is that instant access to too much stuff can become a source of worry. And as Lao Tzu said, nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished. Now, this particular photo in front of you on the screen, I took at Sulphur Mountain in Banff National Park in Canada here. And it's one of my favorite mountains to climb and hike because there's 3 hours of scenery just like this. And so this picture, and when I hike this mountain, it reminds me that things happen perfectly. And if you look in the upper left corner of the screen, or upper right corner, of the screen, there's a bunch of fallen trees. These trees were probably 75 to 100 years old or more, and they'd been hit by lightning, it looked like, and they fell down. Well, nature knows that that's a perfect way of feeding the forest, because all the ants and the insects and the animals and stuff start chewing on that tree, and it actually becomes food, so it actually becomes part of the regeneration process. And nature's never in a hurry, so why are we? Now, one of the things that I think that you can do to take this in and make it a little more manageable for you this week is to follow the sequence. So step number 1, have a clean sheet of paper in front of you. Step number 2, write down, what are you worrying about? Step number 3, why is this decision important for you to make in such a hurry? Step number 4, who's pushing you to make the decision? Step 5, when do you have to decide on this? Step 6, how can you take time away and put some time between you and the decision so you can make a more focused decision? And where can you reach out and get support to help you make this decision?